Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to do something a bit like a discussion video, and it's been on my mind for a while, and I thought today would be a good day to talk about it. So we're going to talk about the problem with One Piece S.H.Figuarts. Now this isn't strictly just a One Piece video, this is a dissection a bit of the entire S.H.Figuarts line, and what it sort of means that the One Piece line didn't start out as good as it probably should have. So first up, they did make One Piece S.H.Figuarts many years ago and cancelled the line pretty early because it didn't really do too well. And One Piece at the time wasn't as colossal as it is now, obviously. But in 2023 they decided to take another crack at it and started off with the sort of main three you should probably start off with to make the line launch well, which is Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. And these were their current Wano designs at the time, and a fairly decent representation of the characters because, like, Luffy's hasn't changed much since time skip. Sanji's hasn't changed much since time skip either, although his Wano outfit is like a burgundy instead of a black suit. And Zoro's design doesn't really change all that much, it's whether or not he's shirtless or not. So I think they're pretty good to represent the characters and not just specifically to Wano, but they are their Wano variants. So the choice of characters were pretty good, but there was a little bit of an uneasy feeling for me where I thought that we weren't going to get the Straw Hats, or at least all the Straw Hats straight away. And I was right, because the next figure they announced in the line was Yamato, then Kaido, then Trafalgar Law, Captain Kidd, Gear 5 Luffy, the Netflix characters, and now pre-time skip Luffy and Nami. So by my estimation, it's going to be a while before we see something like an S.H.Figuarts Frankie or Chopper. But regardless, I am interested in the line and I am on board for the line, but they did get off to a bit of a rocky start. So, as many of you may or may not already know, the Luffy that they released, this one right here, is the sort of baseline for the One Piece S.H.Figuarts going forward. It's the first one released, and it's the one that sort of needs to deliver because it's the cheapest in the line and probably the most easily findable and accessible. He is specifically designed to be like collectible and easily collectible. And for a figure, not bad. Could have been better. His posability is a little bit limited, but you can work at it and get something good out of it. But there are a few like omissions from it, in particular his big smiling classic One Piece smile. And you do get a smile in this, but it's more of a like action-y smile and it's a bit weird. And there is also another major issue, which is you cannot store the hat anywhere on his body. You can take it off and swap out his hair pieces to make it look like he doesn't have the hat on, but you can't put the hat anywhere. And the Gear 5 Luffy does definitely have the hat tied onto his back, so I can see people doing customs to figure that one out, but it is a weird omission to have. Now this is a baseline figure, and it's meant to be a baseline figure, and it's perfectly fine that it's not the best figure out there, but it is a pretty good baseline. It is just missing a few things. Now part of the reason why I'm fairly critical of the One Piece line and the Luffy figure, even though I do think it's pretty good, is that I'm comparing it to other baseline figures. So around the same price point you can get the baseline Goku Saiyan raised on Earth, who after a lot of QC and various revisions and everything like that is basically the gold standard of what S.H.Figuarts is today, and probably will be going forward. This is the 2.0 Goku mold. We now have a 3.0, and that is going to be the gold standard going forward. But generally this is still used today as a pretty good marker of quality for the line. It doesn't come with a crazy amount of accessories, but it is pretty good to pose around, and he comes with what he needs. So what he needs is happy faces, action faces, and good movement. Luffy would have needed the big smile, the straw hat stored on his back. So that's sort of where I'm coming from. He didn't really need a stretchy arm, but I think that he needed the big smile and something like that. The reason why I keep bringing up the big smile is that every S.H.Figuarts One Piece figure comes with an additional face for Luffy, and they locked that face in particular behind the Yamato. And while I was going to get the Yamato regardless, it is still a bit of a bitter pill to swallow that you can't get that classic face for Luffy that sort of embodies the entire franchise without buying a character that a lot of people may or may not actually want. And speaking of other baseline figures, the Naruto, this is the 3.0 Naruto, the Jinchuriki entrusted with hope. And this is the absolute gold standard for S.H.Figuarts Naruto, and it's already a pretty damn good line anyway, but ever since this release, the Figuarts Naruto line has been pretty much perfect, and like the price for this one is very similar to the Goku and the Luffy, and you get an incredible amount with him. You can play around with him so much, it's just a perfect toy, and it makes you want more of them. And it encourages you to buy more of them so you can do Shadow Clone Jutsus and things like that. So very easily collectible and great to play around with, and you get everything you need for it. And what do I mean by like you get everything you need? So for example, this is the Luffy accessory tray, so minus the figure. You can see we get hair pieces, you get extra hands and extra faces. Could have used some extra hands, but like it's a very basic loadout, and it is a cheap figure, like I said, but still could have been a bit better. Like I said, if you had the straw hat that could be tied behind his back, that'd be nice. This is the Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku set minus the figure in the middle, so you can see we get a few more hands and a few faces, but like I said, Goku comes with what he needs, and what he needs is smiling faces, action faces, and Kamehameha accessories, and he comes with that. So that's great. And then the one that puts the others to shame is the Naruto loadout. And so minus the figure, we've got folded arms, we've got a Rasengan, we've got a kunai, we've got pairs of hands that work for jutsus, for holding the Rasengan, for action poses. We've got a bunch of faces, all of them perfect. We've got joke faces, serious faces, yelling faces, smiling faces. Really, really good, and it's getting a revision for the Naruto Top 99. So we're going to get a new updated figure, and that one looks good as well, with updated faces, and it's got like a reaction pose face where it's like actually being hit. So that's crazy, like we're getting some really amazing stuff out of these lines. So why am I droning on specifically about One Piece and comparatively thinking that the Goku is way better than the Luffy? Now, I think it is important to sort of step away from the entire figure line and think about if you are someone that has never collected any S.H.Figuarts, doesn't have a single One Piece figure, doesn't have a single Dragon Ball figure or anything like that. Your favorite anime is One Piece, you just got into One Piece, you're either an adult, you're a kid, you've just discovered this franchise and you want stuff from it, you want to play around with a Luffy, and you want a good Luffy from it. So the first thing you pick up, your very first figure, is the S.H.Figuarts Luffy. And while he is inexpensive, you might notice these things, like, oh, I wish he had the big smiling face, or I wish his hat went on his back, or that he had a stretchy arm or something like that. And I think it's important to think about these figures in the lens of these might be the only Figuarts some people have, this might be people's first introduction into Figuarts, and I don't think it's a great introduction to it. I think the Luffy's fine, and it might make you want more, but the reason why I am sort of so negative on it is because of what happened after the Luffy. So the second release in the One Piece set, or at least the 2023 One Piece set, is the Figuarts Zoro. And while his sculpt is absolutely incredible, looks the part, he looks fantastic, like I cannot deny that, and all his accessories look perfect as well. He's just not a good figure. His posability is like kind of weird. It's hard to get his arms out properly. His arms pop off pretty easily. His bandana accessory, so his arms pop off pretty easily. His torso pops off super easily, and it's sort of encouraged if you want to put his swords anywhere. The skirt is very hard plastic, making it hard to pose him anyway. His legs kind of suck because you can't actually kick them forward. Even if the skirt was good, you can't kick it forward without popping out the legs. The movement on them is just so average and so annoying. And because of his posability and restrictions on the figure, he's just not good. And it's just such a shame because his price point is fairly high for the line, and comes with pretty good accessories. It's just a pain to do anything with them. And his price point matches up pretty closely with the newly released Legendary Super Saiyan Goku, which is one of the best Figuarts and one of the best general release Figuarts they've ever done. Comes with everything they need to do. This figure is just fun to play with. He can do pretty much anything you want. And even though there are some QC issues, like the color difference on his chest to the rest of his body, I don't think it really matters that much, but he comes with everything you need. And to illustrate that point further, this is the Zoro loadout, and I don't actually have a criticism with the loadout. I think it's pretty much perfect. It's got all his swords. You can remove the hilts, so it can be a sheathed or unsheathed look. You've got his swords, you've got a bunch of faces. The only difference that I'd like is another bandana head, but otherwise I think the loadout is pretty much perfect. It's just that you can't do much with it. But then you've got the Goku one, which has got a ton of hands, great faces, an entirely separate head sculpt, like head hair sculpt, and windswept hair sculpt, which is great, and a full Kamehameha accessory, and the option to hold it in a hand thermally. So it's pretty much just like the ultimate loadout for a Goku, and absolutely amazing. And when you put it next to the Zoro, which came out in the same year, and is just so limited, it's just frustrating. And he was the second one in the line, and he's just not up to the standard that he should be. And so if you bought this Zoro and the Luffy at the same time, that's your first impression of this line of figures. And how would you feel about it? Like, people now aren't that happy about it, and they've been collecting Figuarts for ages. What if this is the first Figuarts you ever get as a Zoro? That's just disappointing. But thankfully for the next one was the Sanji. Now, while Sanji isn't my favourite character in Straw Hats, it isn't my favourite One Piece character, he is pretty cool and he does make a damn good figure. He can do pretty much everything you want him to do, great posability. He's got a few little oddities, but generally you can get what you need out of him, and his accessories are great. He just feels good to pose, there's no hard plastic getting in the way. He can kick, he can bend, he can pose. His faces all look good, his accessories are pretty much spot on. Could have had a little extra, like symmetrical hands for everything he does. Like, he's got a pocket accessory for only one of his legs. It'd be cool if he had it for both, so he can put both his hands in his pockets or hold his cigarette on either hand. But that's minor nitpicks. And as well as it'd be nice if he had like a food accessory for Luffy or something like that. But what he does come with is pretty damn good and showcases the character really, really well. And to illustrate that, that's what you get. You get 5 faces on the base figure, you get a face for Luffy, you get 2 effect parts that are posable as well, you get the pocket and hands. So it's a really, really good figure, and that's the standard that I hope we're held to for the rest of the line going forward. And what I've heard about the Yamato is that it's a good figure as well. I don't know about accessories so much, but I don't think that they have that much that they need to come with, so hopefully that's fine. The Kaido is big, but hopefully he's pretty good. The Law seems to be a pretty good figure. The Netflix ones are pretty crap, to be honest. Their accessories aren't the best, and they don't really look like the characters. We'll see about the pre-time skip Luffy and Nami. The Captain Kid, we know he's got a mechanized arm, so we'll see how that works for a figure, if he needs to come with a base to hold it all up. But generally, it's a bit of a shame that this is the start of the line, and it's a bit of a rocky start. I do absolutely think they can overcome this, and I want them to overcome this, and I hope that a lot of the things that I've talked about for like the Luffy now is addressed in the Gear 5 Luffy later, but it is going to be hard to sort of figure this whole thing out because, for example, the Gear 5 Luffy, he's got bendy wire in his arms and legs, and that will be hard to straighten out or get him into the right poses that you need. And we also don't know how that'll last over time, because historically that hasn't been the best for posable figures, and it might discolor over time, it might do all sorts of things, the wire might burst out of the joints. Like, hopefully it's fine, but again, cautiously optimistic, could be really, really bad, could be really, really good. And if it does work, that might be the baseline Luffy going forward. It is a cool concept, making him rubber, but we'll see. But yeah, this video shouldn't be taken as me bashing the One Piece line or anything like that. I really want it to succeed. It's just that I think it's got a hurdle that it needs to overcome. Hopefully it'll overcome that pretty shortly. And it's not just the One Piece line. I think that other lines that Figuarts are working on need to improve as well. Like the Berserk line looks really good, but it's not the best to really play around with. And we are probably getting more figures in that, especially with the Berserker Armor Guts coming out this year. And that one does look really good. I think it'll be way better than the actual Berserker Armor Guts that we got before. But I know it's a hard standard to hold up to, but I'd love everything to be sort of like the quality of this Goku moving forward. I think that this should be the new gold standard. And it pretty much is the gold standard for Dragon Ball going forward. Naruto we figured out. We just need One Piece to get to that point. And thankfully for Naruto, it didn't take too long to get really good. So hopefully that's the case with One Piece, and hopefully the line can survive through it this time. And I think it will. And I think a lot of that has to do with which characters they release at what times. Again, a whole Straw Hat crew would be great. Frankie would be really impressive because you can just imagine all sorts of accessories they'd have for him to make it work. Usopp and Brook, fantastic, interesting character designs would make really intricate and unique posable figures. So I think they need to be bold on who they choose and make the figures themselves really good, up to that same standard that the Sanji is. And even the standard that the Luffy is good. He was just missing a few things that he should have had. But yeah, that's pretty much my rough opinion on this. It's just been bothering me for a little bit, so I thought I should talk about it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time.